Hello, and thanks for joining me here for another episode of Story Time. Today's excerpt is from my collection, Peripheral Visions and Other Stories, and it's from the story called Ice Cream Sundae. A small vanilla cone, please. It was finally his turn at the counter. For 20 minutes, Eddie had waited behind irritated parents and excited children, all the while glancing anxiously at his car. She was still there, solid and unmoving, lost in her own world. Thank God, he thought. He was not up to chasing her today, or any day for that matter. Once before, when his wife Millie had been ill, he had to go alone to that place to fetch her. But when they stopped for a red light, the girl had escaped. Worried, embarrassed, and more than a little angry, he had to pull off and run after her, heart pounding, face sweating. She was very fast. He almost didn't catch her. Since then, whenever he had her in the car, Eddie would fasten her seatbelt with the top side turned inward, where her clumsy fingers couldn't find the release. Sugar cone or plain? The impatient voice of the young clerk brought him back to the present. Sugar cone or plain? Which did Millie choose? She always handled those details. His wife had handled everything concerning the child. All he had to do was drive the car and pay the bills, and listen to Millie cry in the night for her lost daughter. Mister, sugar cone or plain? Sugar, I guess. And he turned back to see her leaning forward now, her stick-straight hair hiding her face. She's probably playing with the radio buttons, he thought resignedly. She liked to turn the volume up very loud until the sound rattled the windows and crashed against his eardrums. You see, Eddie, she likes the music. Could she be as backward as they say if she likes the music? His wife's anxious words echoed in his mind. Millie never let go of the hope that the doctors were wrong in their diagnosis, that somewhere, underneath all those layers of unresponsive brain cells, lurked a child ready to learn, able to love. Eddie knew better. He knew there was nothing there, that her brain was as vacant as the look in her eyes. Their daughter, the one he and Millie longed for, was somewhere else, with some other family. And in her place was this heavy body, an empty mind. Sir, excuse me, would you step aside, please? It was the boy again. He wanted Eddie to move so he could wait on the mother and father and their two giggling golden-haired daughters. He had never heard her laugh, he realized. The girl would sit for hours, impassive and unreachable, twirling one end of her hair or endlessly stroking the material of her dress. But she rarely made any noise at all, except when she was eating. Then he had said in disgust the first and last time they took her to a restaurant, "She sounds like a pig at a trough. I knew it was a mistake." At first, Millie didn't answer, but busied herself gently wiping the girl's face and hands clean of the food. Then she turned to face him, with a look of disappointment in her eyes that shamed him. Anna's our daughter, Eddie. It's not her fault she was born that way. It wasn't his fault either, he had wanted to answer, but he kept his peace. And it wasn't his fault that he couldn't feel a spark of affection for her. He had tried to, God knows. But as she grew older and more out of reach, he found the effort harder to maintain. Finally, he left it to Millie to love the girl. If he felt any sorrow at all, it was from watching his wife struggle against the reality that was their child. She was a good woman. She should have had a healthy baby, one with laughing eyes and eager smiles. So that is an excerpt from the story Ice Cream Sundae. And the way the story came about, I can still remember it. I had pulled into our neighborhood ice cream shop. You know how you do. And when you see a lot of people inside, you kind of wait your turn sitting in the car because it's just a little crowded inside. And next to me was a car and an older gentleman. And trying to remember, a young woman, 18, 19, whatever. And even though I only caught a glimpse of the interaction, somehow you knew that she just wasn't quite all there, that there was something wrong with her. I can't even describe it because she was sitting in the car. I had no idea. Okay, didn't hear anything. She never got out of the car, nothing. But like so many story triggers do, this one just kind of sat in my mind. It just sort of hung out there for a while. And at some point, I started writing a story about a father who is left to care for his mentally disabled daughter after his wife is gone. It's not that he's a bad man. I didn't want to write a story about a man who was heartless. He wasn't heartless. I mean, his heart broke when he would see how his wife was suffering, knowing that there was something wrong with the daughter. And perhaps that was why he had shielded himself from feeling anything for his child, because he wanted, maybe in his own way of thinking, he wanted to remain distant enough from the problem so that he could be the rock for his wife, not realizing perhaps that she didn't need a rock. What she needed was somebody who understood, somebody who was able to show compassion for the situation. But anyways, so he was taking his daughter out for ice cream, and it was just the two of them, and you will have to read the story to find out what happens, what transpires when he takes the ice cream to his daughter in the car. Will there be a moment of connection between the two of them, or will this be like so many other trips that they had? Will this be yet another disappointment? Another disappointment for maybe both of them, because who knows what his daughter was able to perceive. You know, a lot of times with my stories, I don't even know what I'm writing about until I finish writing the stories. But when I look back at a cluster of them, say, I realize that it is about loss, longing, a wish for things to be different, even when you know they can't be different, heartbreak, pain. But at the same time, you know, I like to think there is, through most of them, a thread of hope, a thread of possibility. You know, things may not always turn out the way we want, and there may be heartbreak and disappointment and loss, but at the same time, there is still something, some silver thread that if we just reach out and hold on to it, it'll let us get through whatever's happening. And perhaps that is what happens in Ice Cream Sundae between the father and his daughter. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to read the story to find out. So that is today's story, Ice Cream Sundae, and it is from Peripheral Visions and Other Stories. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you are interested enough to find out what happens between Eddie and his daughter to read the story. And if you like it, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you again for joining me here at Storytime, and I look forward to the next time we get together, and I will share another story with you from one of my two collections. Thanks.